Good afternoon. I call to order the Lake Havasu Metropolitan Planning Organization Executive Board meeting on Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 at 2 p.m. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 on our agenda is the roll call. Ms. Lojewski, if you please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kel Sheehy,
Here.
Buster Johnson,
Here.
Nancy Campbell,
Here.
Gary Knight, I see that he's here. Jenny Koch.
Here.
Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Item 4 is a call to the public. This is an opportunity for citizens wishing to address the executive board on issues within the jurisdiction of the LHMPO planning area that are not on the agenda. If anyone would like to address the board at this time, in person there are no folks, so we'll go ahead and close the call to the public. Item 5 is meeting minutes. Entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, motion to accept the minutes as posted.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Supervisor Johnson. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, this is Board Member Knight. I couldn't unmute, but I am present, and I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, item 6 is our 2023 officer elections. So each year we come before the board to nominate the positions on our board for chair, vice chair, and secretary and treasurer. Currently, I serve as the chairman. Supervisor Johnson serves as the vice chairman. Councilmember Campbell serves as the secretary and treasurer. I would be willing to continue to serve in the role of chairman unless there's someone else that would be interested in that position. Supervisor Johnson, are you interested in continuing to serve as vice chair?
If you want me to.
Excellent. And so Supervisor Johnson's are willing to serve as vice chair. And then Councilmember Campbell, are you interested in serving as secretary and treasurer again?
Yes, it was very difficult, but I will.
Excellent. Is there anyone else that would be interested in any of the 3 positions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion. We have perfect. We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Supervisor Johnson to nominate Cal Sheehy as the chair, Supervisor Buster Johnson as the vice chair, and Councilmember Nancy Campbell as the secretary and treasurer. Is there any further discussion? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the board on this issue? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Supervisor Johnson and Councilmember Campbell. Next item on our agenda is the 2023 Executive Board meeting schedule. Is that Mr. Hembry?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in your packets is the schedule for the 2023 Executive Board meeting. Basically, we're going to status quo as far as the schedule. We would go bi-monthly, the second Tuesday of every other month, beginning in February. So that would be February, April, June, August, October, and December. It worked out pretty well last year. We avoided all the major holidays and major breaks. There were no complaints of condensing the meetings from 9 to 6. I think that worked out very well. The only caveat this year is the NPO staff is asking if at all possible, if we could move the meeting to 10 a.m. So there are 2 options. We would keep the second Tuesday of every month, but switch to 10 to noon to kind of avoid that midday kind of grog. But the 2 p.m. works for the board. That's still definitely at your discretion.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Campbell?
February 14th.
Major holidays.
Yeah, it's major. All good? Everybody's good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll work for,
All right, then I'm good with, and I like the 10 a.m. What do you guys agree?
is 10 a.m. work for
Oh.
you, Councilmember Campbell? I mean, Councilmember Koch, I'm sorry. Yeah, Supervisor Johnson, is 10 a.m., would that work for you? Okay. Mr. Knight, would that work for you at 10 a.m. versus at 2 p.m.?
Yes, that will work. 10 a.m. is fine.
All right. All right, any other discussion on the meeting schedule or the timing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the board on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for a possible motion.
Mayor, motion?
Please.
I motion to accept the meeting times as followed, including moving time to 10 a.m.
We have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Councilmember Koch. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. All right, good. Yeah, item 8 is the WACOG coordination plan. Mr. Hembry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to give a background for the new board members, the WACOG coordination plan, what they call the coordination plan, is primarily a mechanism for what we call the 5310 program. The 5310 program is a state-funded FTA funds for nonprofit service providers that cover individuals with disabilities and seniors. So it's a very specialized program. It's not your public transit, it's private nonprofit. Very much like the MPO, how we have our transportation improvement program where we have to prioritize projects, list projects. That coordination plan is that mechanism for those nonprofit transit providers. It's mandatory if they want to go after the ADOT grant funds. They have to be in the WACOG coordination plan, and they have to provide a 2-year list of what they expect their anticipated projects for capital and for operating. So that's what that WACOG plan is. At the inception of the MPO, there were really only about 2 nonprofit service providers in our area, New Horizons, Mile Markers Therapy, and Lake Havasu Mobility. They were not a 5307 yet for our public transit. So we're down to 2 service providers. Instead of hiring a full-time mobility manager to come in and just oversee 1 or 2 agencies, we felt it was best as a group, as the MPO, the old board, left it with WACOG. They already had a mobility manager. They were already performing their duties as a liaison between the state and the grantees. So we just left that with WACOG. So again, the coordination plan is a document, a compliance document that WACOG creates. We just bring it to our board and council for transparency. And for, that joint effort. Again, they take care of all the heavy lifting, but we bring it to our TAC and board just for transparency and to let you know, what kind of nonprofit services are out there, what they anticipate to apply for grant funding in the next few years. And that was emailed out as a separate document for your review. With that, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hembry. So today if this action was successful, we're giving permission to WACOG to put together the plan to bring back to us for February? So
this is where it's ultimately the WACOG board is the one who has the final authority as far as the document itself before WACOG would submit that to ADOT for final review. For us, again, it's just transparency. If we deny or approve, it doesn't really hinder the WACOG process or keep any of the agencies from applying for funds. Our involvement now, having said that, when we prioritize the project, WACOG, Felicia Mondrag, and the mobility manager reaches out to agencies who are not on that list to apply for funding, so there's non-biased. Myself, maybe Patrick or Jeanette with the public transit here in Havasu would sit on the review panel and review the regional applications for 5310 funds and vote and prioritize that. Again, this document's very much like our TIP. It has to go through an annual process to get approved by the board, put out to the public for review and comment. I have yet in my time to see any councils, boards, or committees come back and disagree with how the projects are ranked. Ultimately, even if we have a regional ranking that says this project's the lowest on the list, it still doesn't stop that agency from applying at the state for grant funds for the 5310 program. But if you approve it today, no, it would not come back to the board. This is the final 2023 update that they would then send to ADOT. And the reason why ADOT asked for this list, again, it's kind of like a middleman, a liaison. They want to get a good idea in the next 2 years what they can anticipate for grant funds so they can see how much grant funding is available versus how much is being requested so they can have an idea of any shortfalls or how many applications or just in general how many projects for capital and operating that they anticipate for the next 2 years.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments for Mr. Hembry? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the board on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for discussion or possible motion.
Chair?
Yes.
Motion?
Please.
Do I call you mayor or chairman?
I think I'm the chair here, but mayor, I'm also, so
Okay.
your choice.
All right. Motion to accept the 2021-2024 WACOG Transportation Coordination Plan update.
We have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Supervisor Johnson. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9 on our agenda is the Lake Havasu City and Lake Havasu Metropolitan Planning Organization lease agreement. Mr. Hembry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we, since the inception of the MPO, have had a 5-year term lease agreement with Lake Havasu City to occupy space in their transit building off of 900 London Bridge Road over by the Public Works Building. That lapsed, I guess, July 1 of summer, and then it was brought to our attention it's time to renew that lease. So in your packet is that 4-page lease agreement. Nothing has changed as far as location, space, price, services. It's pretty much status quo, but just trying to update that 5-year lease agreement. And we definitely, from the MPO side, we appreciate the partnership that we have in our fiscal agent and fiduciary agent with the city, the space. It's been a great space over the years when we see no need to try to look elsewhere, nor could we afford to.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just for this document, it went before Lake Havasu City Council at our last meeting and was approved. Because I serve in 2 roles, one is mayor and one is chairman of this board, I did sign this lease as approved as the mayor. And if this is approved by this board, Vice Chairman Supervisor Johnson would be the one signing this document for full transparency. Are there any questions of Mr. Hembry from members of the board? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the board on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion or possible motion. Mayor? Councilmember Koch?
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion carries unanimously. Item 10 is our Lake Havasu Metropolitan Planning Organization Director's Report. Mr. Hembry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item on the update is the RTAC legislative project list. As of November 8th, Lake Havasu MPO turned over all of our fact sheets summing $10.1 million to RTAC for their larger 300, anywhere from 100 to 300 million omnibus bill. Kevin is not able to join us on future agenda items today, but I just got a text from him that he is down at the Capitol trying to secure a legislator to sponsor the bill. So he's got his hands full. But he basically said that, great job for Lake Havasu and our projects. Everything matches their records. Everything's been approved by this board and everything is set to go for that bill. So fingers crossed, hopefully we can get a sponsor for that soon. The next item on the list, let me back up, are there any questions regarding the RTAC legislative project update? On to item number 2, our FY25-26 HSIP application. At the time I released my update, the original review panel was scheduled for December 8th, but ADOT has pushed that back to December 19th. So next Monday, we should convene as a panel to look at that final list of awards. And by the next meeting, I should have a list in hand of all awarded projects throughout the state, and hopefully the 5 applications that we put in for the FY 25-26 safety period. Be happy to answer any questions on that item. Hearing none. Item number 3 is really kind of the heart of today's meeting, and it's a doozy. So the joint SR 95 Lake Havasu Avenue signal project that we've been working on quite heavily for the last, I'd say, 9 to 12 months. Unfortunately, we feel the city staff and the MPO staff feel it would be beneficial to postpone that project for roughly 12 to 18 months, mainly because as we started to scope this HERF exchange project, we ran into so many unknown variables between ADOT system and the local system. It's almost like having 2 different cars, a Ford and a Chevy. You can't just say, I need a motor, give me yours, and we're going to plug it in. And that's where we're at. The hardware, the software, the traffic controllers, everything that's in those cabinets, we can't just go out and mirror and buy what ADOT has on SR 95. It doesn't mean it's going to work for Havasu's system. So then to try to buy hardware and software that works and coordinates both of those systems is where we ran into the hiccups. There's just too many unknown answers. So the proposal now, and there's no action on this today, I just wanted to give the board a heads up of what's coming in the future, would be to postpone that project, the MPO to scope out a new, I hate to use the word study, but engineering analysis, have a consultant, an engineering firm come into town and do, it's a 2-phase process. First would be to evaluate exactly what's out in the field, to come inventory everything on Lake Havasu Avenue, McCulloch Boulevard, and SR 95, just to see where we're at, what hardware, again, make, model, manufacturer of everything that's there. Then to offer a retiming plan for what's already in the field. Is there any room for improvement to coordinate those signals just based off of what we already have? Then the last phase would be to make recommendations to move towards what we've discussed this last year as adaptive, that AI technology to where, you know, the cameras and the systems are constantly evaluating traffic on their own. You don't have to have the glorified signal timing plans. This system would, you know, kind of live on demand update and change its traffic timing. But those systems are very complex. And again, we just don't know what to buy and what to purchase and what will work with both systems and or technical capabilities of ADOT and city staff. So that's what this study would iron out and flesh out is by the time we get this thing done, it would give us detailed scopes per intersection of exactly what we have, how to make it more efficient with what we have, and what we need to buy to move to future technology. So again, just wanted to give the board a heads up that, you know, we feel it'd be beneficial to just postpone this project and take a step back for 12 to 18 months until we can get some hard data. Otherwise, we're just kind of throwing darts in the dark, unfortunately. Again, though, the funding is there, so it's not like we're losing any funding. We would just be basically postponing that HERF exchange project from FY 23 to late 25, maybe early 26, while we do the engineering analysis. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, today, this is just discussion only, no action. We would have to do tip amendments, introduce scopes. Everything would have to go before the TAC and board for that finalizing of scopes, amending of tips, amending of work programs, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for the update. Why so long? Why do you have to delay 12 to 18 months? Why can't we start the process to get the analysis done and be done in 8 months?
I have the scope ready to go. It'll go towards the TAC. I'll release it in January and give, 6 to 8 weeks to review the scope, make sure the traffic operations engineers at the state and local level can review that. But mainly it's to get an RFP out. 6 months is kind of the norm because right now the funding is tied to that project. So I have to do a tip amendment to undo that project, but to reschedule that project, and also do a tip amendment to add funds so the MPO can administer a new study. Because this study would be, or this engineering analysis would roughly be, $300,000 to bring in a engineering firm to look at every single intersection and to make that call and to, do that legwork.
So we didn't think to have to do that before? Why didn't we do that already?
We were under the assumption that the city staff would be able to, they can scope their own system. That's where the problem lies. It wasn't yes, the city knows what they have, ADOT knows what they have, but what do we purchase and what works together to make both of those systems talk together? And that's kind of where the hiccup of that scoping came. And again, ADOT didn't really want to make the call or couldn't make the call because they can tell us, here's our system, here's our cabinets, here's our hardware, this is what will work for us, but we don't know what you guys have. And even if you just hand that data to somebody, ultimately, who would be responsible for making the recommendation of basically purchasing over $1 million worth of hardware, software? And the concern is if we go out and we buy all this and it doesn't work, what's the ramifications of that? Then where's the boards, councils, community, residents? There would probably be an uproar if we just purchased $1 million worth of hardware and software that was null and void. So that's our concern. So that would be why we would really need to take a step back and make sure that what we're purchasing moving forward is exactly what we need.
Yes.
I would like to see, instead of all these studies and possibly spending $1 million on equipment that may or may not work, and I know how hard it is to integrate older technology into different brands, and a lot of the equipment's a lot outdated a lot of times. How do we move forward and just get the AI technology, change the scope of work to maybe do, what is that going to cost for us as a whole to bring in the better technology? As we know, our highway is immensely congested, getting worse by the day. And I just think it's a waste of time and money to be thinking $300,000 for a study just to see what kind of equipment we have to maybe it may work for $1 million or not. How much would it cost to do AI technology? And I might be overstepping my knowledge here, but would this be a partnership with the city then, or is this and the state, or how does this work?
Yeah, so it is absolutely a partnership between the state and the city, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who own and operate the equipment. So there is some of that liability between the two systems. So there would definitely have to be an agreement somewhere, as far as even if it's you maintain your piece of SR 95 at the state level and the city maintains their piece on Lake Havasu Avenue. But as far as the adaptive AI, the point of that is to get those two systems talking. So there's still some liability there. And I guess that's where the reservation from both sides, from the state and the city, is just, this is a huge project and we don't want to make the mistake of just, there's nothing stopping us. We have the HERF exchange, the dollars are programmed, they're there, but both sides basically, the answer is we don't know what we should be purchasing without full blown, again, like a very detailed, technical, complex engineering analysis. Again, I go back to motors, but it's, if you just go buy a motor, it doesn't mean it's going to fit in that make and model. So we need very detailed engineering analysis to come in and say, okay, you guys know what you have, but you don't know what you need to buy to make those two work. And it's a lot of heavy lifting for the state and the city. I'm not saying that they couldn't do it, but at this point, the MPO can't force that on basically the state or the locals. And we'd be willing, like I said, as far as the money's there, yes, it does delay. That was the unfortunate part. It does delay the project. But my humble opinion is I would rather delay the project and get a very detailed list, not just a recommendation of, hey, go buy adaptive. The way that the scope works is you give us the exact make, model number, part number. So if I go to order this thing, it's very detailed. So I know exactly what I'm getting, and I know for a fact that it will work when I go to turn it on.
Does the board kind of agree with me though? Or does anybody agree with me that wouldn't you rather just see it move forward with the updated technology? Or, to do a scope of work on that to see, because if we're going to delay the project anyways, I would really like to see that engineering scope of work go towards what is it going to cost for us to redo it with the new technology, which is what you were talking about, camera technology. It knows every movement of every car, when it's stopped, when it's not, and they're all communicating with upgraded technology. I mean, how old is the technology that we are working with right now?
Pretty old. In certain spots. And to answer your question, Board Member Campbell, basically you would then put the onus on the city staff to scope that project. And their response was they have reservations on scoping it because of that. They don't know, as far as they know what they have, but they don't know ADOT's system as well as they should, or the adaptive stuff as well, versus the engineers that are doing this day in and day out for the bigger metropolitan areas. So as far as can you just scope and go, that's kind of where we're at now. And scoping that would the onus would be on Lake Havasu City staff as the sponsoring agency, because the MPO, we're planners, we're not traffic operations engineers.
Well, that's why I'm thinking, wouldn't there be somebody that we could reach out to that does the big metropolitan, cities, and bring them to the table and ask them, what is it going to cost for us to get a whole working system, and go in that direction.
Yeah, that's actually what this does. So this the $300,000 is going to go. The light technology is the light technology. It's putting the two together that does the AI adaptive. That's my understanding from your
Yes,
report. Mr.
and it's
Embry.
also the scope as well. Like
Yes, that will be the
each
scope.
intersection would have a detailed scope of saying, here's your existing inventory of everything that's there. Here's exactly what you need to move into the 21st century and the adaptive stuff. And
Okay.
here's the exact penny dollars. Then that way, what that allows us to do, again, that money for the HERF exchange program that we're postponing, it's still there. But then we'll have a clear-cut picture. Do we have enough money? Do we need more? Or we can prioritize and say, okay, the 1 point whatever million we have for HERF exchange that's available, now we have a prioritize, like this intersection needs exactly this because we,
Okay.
maybe it's battery backup systems, whatever it may be.
So this study will give the information that they need to any big company
To go out
move
to
forward.
bid, to go out for
bid.
grants.
Okay. All right, I
And that's
understand.
exactly what it was like. This study needs to answer all those questions so we know exactly how to spend in-house dollars, city dollars, and any future grants. So that it would make, I know, city staff and myself much more comfortable instead of just assuming that we know that what we want versus a very detailed report. And when I say detailed, the data that we're going to get is going to be pretty massive.
Okay, I just want the best.
Me too.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Embry? Supervisor Johnson?
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair, I've got one question.
Mr. Knight? Yeah, okay, please proceed, Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Justin. So Lake Havasu City it would be willing to update their technology to the AI technology, but it has to integrate with ADOT. And is ADOT willing? Do they have the funds available to update? And have they given the okay to update their equipment to the AI technology that you're talking about, or is theirs still going to remain the same?
Yes, they are. So to give you a background, Mr. Knight, I talked with Todd and Anthony at the district, and they're very happy. And their approach is, hey, if the MPO can spend federal dollars to purchase that on behalf of the state system, they're very happy to update. They're getting better technology, and on ADOT's behalf, I know that they're a lot closer to that technology right now with some of the stuff that they've installed in the last, I'd say, 12 to 18 months. The current hardware and software that they have can kind of move towards those integrative adaptive systems. But if they can't, perfect point would be their loop detectors and radar detectors. They are very happy to hear that the MPO would spend money on their facility to upgrade their signals. Like they're actually kind of drooling over it, and they're very excited about a joint project, but also had the same reservations of, let's be careful of what we buy, because ultimately it has to work for their system, and ultimately it has to work for ours as well. So. But yes, Mr. Knight, to answer your question, they're very welcome to the idea and excited.
Okay, that's good. I just thought basically I need to know what I need to support back at the board level, the transportation board level, if they bring it to us for a vote. So, okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Supervisor Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Going off of what the councilwoman's question, it's my understanding what she was asking was, why don't you get rid of the systems you have now and put in an all new AI? Because if you have old equipment you're trying to splice into this AI that is going to break quicker, I think she wanted to know what the cost would be instead of just splicing this thing together if we just replace both systems.
And so to answer your question, apologies. So for clarification, the reason why we had like a midterm of just give us updated timing plans for what's currently out there is because it could take anywhere from 12 months for that other joint project to just buy all new hardware, go put it in, work out the bugs. That is ultimately the recommendation. But until we go purchase that and buy that, we also wanted like a short-term interim. As soon as you guys get us the data, if you see any ways to make what's existing better, short-term, give us that short-term. Ultimately, we want a list of brand new equipment, brand new systems, but we might not be able to afford that, or we might be able to only buy 1 or 2 intersections at a time, depending the price. We're assuming that it's 1.1 million, but we don't know. We don't have a detailed cost estimate yet. So it's help us identify anything, room for improvement short-term, long-term, give us a list of every piece of equipment updated into the system that we prefer.
Wouldn't be we wasting money then if we're just splicing it together? Why don't we just wait till we've saved enough money to put all new ones in?
So we're not recommending buying equipment to splice anything together. We're just saying the equipment that's there, you already have signals, they already have timing mechanisms in there. If there's a way to tweak those things to make them work better for the short term, give us those numbers and we'll tweak them short term, not new equipment, just tweak what's there. And then, yes, go buy brand new equipment that would replace any outdated, older equipment.
Yeah, but I guess still my question is, why would we spend money to tweak something that's we're just going to get rid of? I mean, that's going to be costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars probably. We got to do a study and everything else.
You're still going to, okay, I get where you're going. So basically, you're still going to pay an engineering firm to come in. If you say, give us a list of all the new, latest and greatest we want to replace, they still have to collect the data on what's there to know where you need to go. They have to come do that existing inventory. They can't just tell you, here's all the stuff you need, because what if it's tied to underground? We might not have underground. What if it's based off of radio or Wi-Fi technology? They don't know the capabilities at like the city center, the data hub of what software you have. So they're going to have to, the analysis, the engineer firm is going to have to come in anyway. We're already paying them to come here. So while they're here, it was more of, you're already here. We're already paying you hundreds of thousands of dollars to make those recommendations. We might as well also have you make a short-term recommendation of what we have existing, go ahead and make work better optimally short-term, while also providing us the ultimate goal of, that list of improvements for all new hardware and software. So either way, we're going to have to pay the engineering firm to come in and collect that data. They're going to have to go look at turning count movements, speed, classifications. I mean, the study to what because you wouldn't recommend, even though it's adaptive and it's new, you might not need, I guess, case in point, and if Central Yavapai MPO kind of fell into this, they did an adaptive study, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. The consultants came in and said, your system can't handle the adaptive technology without replacing more equipment than you have budgeted for. And they were kind of upset. Well, what are we going to do now? We just paid hundreds of thousands. So their quick fix was, okay, just because we can afford some of the higher end stuff doesn't mean we can't make what's there now more efficient or buy some kind of tiered approach. I hate to use the word splice, but maybe we update what's out there to a certain level to make it better. So that's kind of what we were lessons learned, making sure that we don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for engineering firm to come in and tell us, okay, you asked for pie in the sky, every adaptive signal technology on the planet. It's not going to work for your system unless you spend, I hate to throw out a number, but what if it's 5-10 million and the city doesn't have that in the general fund? Then you're kind of stuck. Well, we just paid these people to give us a recommendation for something we can't afford. At least this way, we get something out of the engineers to say, give us something that's going to make what's existing better, and also that same list of where we should move in the future.
Shouldn't we know what it costs to retrofit a signal to be capable of what we're looking to do? I mean, I kind of thought that's what we were doing anyway. We were going to come in and say, okay, we're putting all this new equipment in, and we figured this is what the money, the cost was going to be, because we all know, you buy a refrigerator, what the refrigerator costs. So you go, yeah, this technology costs this much. We have this many intersections. I don't know. Whatever the board wants to do is fine with me.
And I'm free with that. I guess, and I would have to maybe have some input from city staff, but basically the request was from city staff to say, hey, can we pump our brakes on this? We don't want to make that call at this time because there's too many unknowns. So as far as the MPO, no, we can't make that call. We're not operations engineers. I could obviously do the research, look at other areas and go, here's a rough ballpark of what they installed. But I don't know if that's going to work, not only just for your system, but also ADOT's system. And that's kind of where we're at today with the conversation. But again, full discretion of the board and the sponsoring agency. It's really up to them if they would like to move forward or postpone, or if you're not comfortable with another analysis, that's definitely at the discretion of the board and also input from TAC.
Mayor, question?
Yes.
I am concerned with even the liability of using the technology that we have. As a private sector, the first thing I would do is find the best contractor I could find that does this on a regular basis, tell them to send their consultant out, to have them look at everything with the hopes of maybe they can get a big sell out of the deal and, sell the deal. I don't know if that's how this works. Again, I'm very new to this board. I'm very new to this government world as it is, but I am strongly concerned about spending extra money and spending extra time to try and retrofit outdated information. And I just think a scope of work stating we want to replace all of it. What is it going to cost? What do you think? Is it going to happen? I'd almost be willing to spin my wheels and spend the money to get a consultant out to just tell us that part. Because now we're asking him to do 5 or 6 different things. And again, I know how that goes. The money just continues to go. Every hour they spend on it, every detailed item that they have to research. I think like Vice Chair Johnson stated, I would like to just see somebody come in, give us a quick analysis of what it would cost. I know it's not quick, but it's like you said, we move streetlights all the time in our company and move them this way and that way. They're not that big of a technology. I just would like to see somebody come in from the outside that would like to make both of our lights work together. And that would be my direction as well. Instead of trying to do a piecework or analyzing every piece of equipment that we have, what would it take? Because we're getting ready to do a mill and fill, and the sooner that we probably know this, just in case we have to cut into that later, it just seems to me a waste of time to do two-step program here.
So I'm going to, it looks like Mr. Frosley might have something to add to this conversation. So, but also this is just a discussion item from Mr. Hembry's report. So any of these actual items will come back before council or this board to address. But Mr. Frosley, did you have some comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to assist Justin in this explanation. I think he's doing a great job, but what he might have missed, or maybe I missed, was what I think is the most important part. When I got back involved with the MPO, we were talking about updating all this equipment because my retirement project, Mr. Mayor, is to get those signals talking together on the highway and on Lake Havasu Avenue to keep that traffic flowing. So my concern was if we went in and installed a bunch of equipment to get everybody talking together, then who's going to program it? So I thought we pump the brakes on equipment and do the design, if you will, the traffic modeling, because that's a tremendous amount of intersections, a tremendous amount of traffic. And I wasn't confident at the time that we could just program that to work. What kind of problems are we going to create if we don't have high-level traffic engineers come in and do the modeling? And as long as they're looking at that, to Justin's point, we should have them inventory to make sure we're all using the best and most current technology available to us, and put that project together once we know what the possible end result could be with traffic modeling. Because we could get a bunch of traffic from the highway onto Lake Havasu Avenue and create this huge logjam, and in my mind, doesn't improve the situation. So I asked Justin, the conversation I had is maybe we pump the brakes on the actual equipment and do some engineering studies and traffic modeling to make sure we can achieve what we're setting out to achieve with installing the equipment. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully they're helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Frosley. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and thank you. So when I referred to signal timing, that's basically what I meant for a signal timing plan is regardless of the technology, there's only so many seconds in a minute, so many minutes in an hour for people to turn left, go straight, all of that traffic flow and how you move people from A to B, and that modeling, you can't just do one intersection. You have to look at them as a whole and not just two. You have to look at all of those corridors in conjunction together, and that's just an engineering modeling data beast. And that's really what we'd be paying for. It's not so much the signal or the sensor or the detection equipment or the poles or the lights. Yes, we can absolutely, to both your points, go out and buy that. But that doesn't mean that once they're installed that it's going to magically turn on and traffic's going to flow beautifully. We're paying for that modeling, that engineering to come in and to figure out what's the best timing of all those intersections, all the various lanes and all that. So thank you for that, Greg. That was a tremendous help.
Thank you again. That clarified everything. I just didn't want anybody to think that we are trying to save a bunch of money piecing things together. If there's going to end up that we're going to have to waste it all. So I totally trust in direction of the study at this point.
And to ease the board's mind, part of the scope, again, I just finished this morning, and I'll send it to you guys in the next few weeks, is to keep that engineering on board for anywhere from 90 to 120 days, that once these lights are on, they are to come back and make sure that these things to work out any bugs, and also what they call IMSA level 2 certified traffic signal technician, meaning they are certified to go make these changes liability wise out in the field. So it does take that liability off of the state and the city and puts that on a professional engineer. These models, these plans, these processes are going to be signed, sealed, and by engineers and qualified technicians that have to have very specific certs. They can't just go flip on a switch and off to the races. So that helps ease the board's mind.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 11, which is the Rural Transportation Advocacy Council report. As Mr. Hembury mentioned earlier, Mr. Adam is not going to be able to join us, so we will move on to item 12, which is the ADOT district report, which Mr. Steinberger will not be joining us either, so we'll move on.
If I can,
Oh, he did join?
Oh, it looks like Todd did join us.
Oh, perfect. Mr. Steinberger.
Yeah, my other meeting got over just a little bit early. Thanks everybody for everything. Just a quick update for the pavement preservation job that's going through the Lake Havasu City area up to I-40 on SR 95. We're working on getting that advertised at sometime this winter. We're shooting for the end of December, early January to advertise that project. Also, we are we're getting our prison labor back in the Kingman area from the prison out there in Golden Valley. So we're going to you'll see them about once a month hitting the Lake Havasu area for litter pickup. And then you will be seeing over the next month, fitting in on the holidays, some maintenance pavement repairs that we're doing on the I-40 corridor in between Havasu and Kingman. And then, like I said, I appreciate working with the MPO and the city. I know we had to take a step back and reevaluate the signals, but I know that we also got some useful data from the consultant on some of the traffic stuff, traffic counts, and I know that the MPO is going to pass that along once they get it, and that's greatly appreciated.
Thank you for your report. And Mr. Steinberger, I know every time that we see each other, I have a request, but I happened to have a meeting in Bullhead City this morning and came back, and that median along Highway 95 needs to be swept again from North Palo Verde to out to the mall area, or where the median goes in that center turn lane. It's full of all sorts of large debris.
Okay. I'll work with our maintenance staff and get that addressed.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Steinberger from members of the board? All right, moving on to item 13 is our Arizona Transportation Board report. Mr. Knight?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really don't have any updates for you at this point. The board has approved in the November meeting most of the projects that were approved were in the Kingman area and Bullhead City. So I really don't have anything to update for Lake Havasu. The next Transportation Board meeting will be this Friday in Chinley. It will be Mr. Thompson's last meeting as the chair. And it's very cold up there. A couple of us are going to take ADOT up on the offer to transport us up there via the governor's airplane. So we'll be flying up on Thursday and attend the meeting Friday morning and then fly back. But from my location, it's about a 10-hour drive to Chinley. So and it's pretty cold up there, and I I don't do snow well. I can do sand, but snow not so much, and icy roads. Not much experience with that down here in Yuma. So I'm going to fly up in the plane on Thursday along with board member Searle, and the meeting will be open to the public for anybody that wants to attend in person or virtually. Of course, it's a hybrid meeting, and you can attend virtually, but and it will be at 9 a.m. on Friday in Chile. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Are there any questions of Mr. Knight?
Yes, Mr. Knight, did they send out a link to that? According to my emails, I have not seen that link to the open to the public for this Friday.
They sent it out to all the board members. I'm not sure that I'll inquire to see if they have sent it out, but normally after we get it, it's a little later. If you go to, and I was just on there, if you go to the State Transportation Board's website, it does have the new agenda for Friday, and normally it will have on that agenda, that's where it will have the public link for attending the meeting virtually.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Mr. Knight. Item 14, future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items for members of the board? All right. Item 15 is our upcoming meeting schedule. As Mr. Knight mentioned, the State Transportation Board meeting is this Friday, December 16th in Chinle. The next TAC meeting for the Lake Havasu Metropolitan Planning Organization is on January 24th, 2023 at 10 a.m. And then our next executive board meeting will be February 14th, 2023 at 10 a.m. For our new time. With that, last item on our agenda is motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I just got on the website for the State Transportation Board, and the login, the button is there to click for attendee login. So it's there. It's posted on the State Transportation Board's website. It's on the first page, and right above it is you can click on the and look at the agenda. We've had one amendment to the agenda. I noticed there was one map that wasn't supposed to be there. It was wrong, so they sent out an amendment to that effect. But all the information you need to go to attend the meeting virtually is on the Transportation Board's website.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned. Thank you for joining us. Happy holidays, and we'll see you after the new year. Thank you.
Thank you.